What is happening in Benue State is nothing short of a nightmare. Picture this. A peaceful farming community suddenly turned into a scene from a horror movie, with hundreds of innocent people slaughtered, homes reduced to ashes, and despair hanging heavy in the air. While the government was quiet for too long, thereby confirming General Sani Abacha's statement that says, any insurgency that lasts more than 24 hours, a government official has a hand in it. After watching this video, you will find out why Nnamdi Kanu's formation of ESN to protect his people was necessary in the first place. So right on, please don't forget to like and subscribe. The death of over 200 people in Benue State has become a nightmare to Nigerians. Seeing bandits openly rolling with Nigerian forces in broad daylight has come with the question, is insecurity in Nigeria an orchestrated movement? The Yelwata massacre, which unfolded on the night of June 13th to 14th of 2025. People have different view that this is a plotted agenda, while some are hinting that it's an act to Islamize Nigeria and ethnical cleansing of the Christian community of Nigeria. Others claim that the military and police, who should be a protector, are simply ineffective, standing by as communities are wiped out. While the world's eyes are on Nigeria, the silence from the Nigerian government has been deafening. No state of emergency, no swift response, and still the killings continue. Are their hands tied, or do they have a hand in this chaos? Is it a political game or a matter of national security? Talking about how everything happened. On the night of June 13th to 14th of 2025, something unspeakable happened in the heart of Nigeria. In Yelwata, a quiet agrarian community in Guma local government area, near Massacred, Benue State, sleep was interrupted with screams, flames, and sounds of bullets. But the victims in this catastrophe were not soldiers who were caught in gunfire while protecting the locals. The victims here were not criminals either. They were families. Families that have been displaced, homeless, and vulnerable. People who were simply seeking shelter in the marketplace and churches. According to eyewitness and early media reports, heavily armed militants widely believed to be Fulani herdsmen arrived in the dead of night. They split into coordinated cells surrounding the IDP shelter point before advancing. As people slept, they set buildings on fire, forcing the occupants to flee out into the open. They were also armed with AK-47, machetes, and firebombs, which they shot at victims indiscriminately. Hacking down those who tried to run, witness said that attackers shouted, Allahu Akbar, repeatedly fueling the fears that this is not just a loud conflict, but possibly a religious charged violence. Their trail had already been marked by burnt corpses, bloodied infants, and wailing mothers, also cradling lifeless children. After the attack, by the morning, the smell of burnt flesh filled the air. Those who miraculously survived came out of their hiding. They have survived yet another massacre in a nation that refused to confront its bleeding center. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, bodies were everywhere, littered in the streets, under burnt zinc roofing, in church pews, and beneath makeshift tarpaulin that once served as shelter. Initial report from the local vigilante and emergency responders estimated at over 100 people were dead. Many of them were burnt beyond recognition, some shot while asleep, others mutilated by machetes. But these were just the visible bodies. More precise assessment began to emerge from Catholic charities and humanitarian partners. The Diocese of Massacred's Foundation for Justice, Development and Peace, FJDP, in collaboration with the Christian NGOs providing relief to IDPs, conducted detailed field visits, survivors interviews, and body counts across affected zones. They discovered that up to 200 people were confirmed dead, dozens more critically injured, entire families wiped out, some without single survivor. Children burnt alive in makeshift tents, their child remains clinched to what used to be mother's arm. These were not just revised statistics. These were identities erased, entire generation lost, entire worlds emptied overnight. This insecurity of Nigerian Benue State, especially Guma local government area, has long been a hotspot of Fulani herdsmen-related killings. This is not new information. It is well-documented fact. Villages has been raised in Logo, Agotu, and Gwere, and mass burial have become almost cultural in this Middle Belt region. And yet, despite this established pattern, Yelwata, known as Flashpoint, was left unguarded. The attacks lasted for hours. Survivors say the armed militants arrived around midnight and did not leave until 3 a.m. During this time, calls were made, warnings were sent, screams echoed in the night, and still, no one came. It wasn't until dawn that the security operatives slowly showed up, but not to stop the killings, but to count the dead. When General Sani Abacha, Nigeria's most feared military ruler, declared in the 1990s that if insurgency lasts more than 24 hours, the government has a hand in it. Many dismiss it as one of his many authoritarian outbursts. But decades after, in the blood-soaked aftermath of Yelwata, his words have become prophecy. Because what happened in June of 13th to 14th of 2025 wasn't just a case of insecurity. It was a case of strategic silence, delayed response, and questions no government wants to answer. Let's consider the two possible reasons for the deadly delay. Some argue that the Nigerian security forces are under-equipped, outnumbered, and are afraid of confronting these well-armed militias, who are often backed by networks of powerful interests. In this case, the delay could be a reflection of cowardice, not necessarily complicity. But if soldiers cannot protect sleeping internal displaced people, what then is the justification for their salaries, their uniforms, and their presence? The Nigerian army has proven that when ordered, it can act swiftly and brutally. We have seen the evidence, especially when cracking down on unarmed citizens. Cities were gunned down in Zaria without mercy. NSAS protesters at Lekki were fired at with live bullets. IPOP and Eastern Security Network members are hunted like terrorists. So why the hesitation when Fulani militants massacre over 200 people? This is the darker, more dangerous explanation, that orders were given to stand down, or that some political or ethnic interests were being protected. That someone, somewhere decided that Yelwata could burn and those lives were expandable. Because, let's be honest, if this had been over 200 elite citizens, expatriates or northern Muslims in Lagos or Port Harcourt, a military task force would have been deployed within minutes. This just proves something about the security system in the country. This proves that the security system is selective when it comes to protecting the lives and properties. Why do we say so? The Nigerian forces know how to deploy helicopters in the southeast. It knows how to mobilize tanks for election periods. It also knows how to make people disappear in the northeast, but somehow it never knows how to prevent Fulani herdsmen from slaughtering villagers in Benue, Plateau, and southern Kaduna. This is not incompetency. This is a strategic neglect. And as Sani Abacha rightly said, when insurgency persists without interruption, the inaction of government becomes loudest evidence of complicity. Why is it that no high-ranking military chief has visited the site? No national mourning was declared. No emergency security overhaul was announced. Instead, the federal government treated it like just another incident in a long list of rural killings. You know, unworthy of outrage, unfit for justice, and inconvenient to acknowledge. How did the Fulani henchmen get AK-47 and the ammunitions in a nation where countless citizens can barely afford a bag of rice, where school children learn under trees, and where the government claims it can't even pay living wages? How did nomad cattle herders, who are traditionally armed with sticks and matches, now become militarized with AK-47, FN rifles, and in some cases, drone surveillance equipment? This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a reality too loud to ignore. And the answer lies at the intersections of state failure, international arms smuggling, deliberate ethnic politics, and high level of collusion. Nigeria shares over 40 kilometers of porous borders with countries like Niger, Cameroon, Chad, and Benin Republic. In places like Sokoto-Niger border, Kebbi Benin Republic border, Bonu Cameroon border, you can cross without a passport, without a checkpoint, and without detection. This reality has made it alarmingly easy for armed non-Nigerian Fulani fighters, illegal weapon traders, and jihadists recruiters to enter Nigeria, particularly through the northeast and northwest, and later settle into the forest strongholds like Sambisa, Rugu, and Kamuku. Now, what started as communal conflict has evolved into ethnic terrorism, armed with military-grade weapons right under the government's nose. An AK-47 on the black market in West Africa costs between $400 and $1,200 depending on location. A box of 7.62mm ammunition, which is AK-47 use, can cost between $150 to $300. So how does a herdsman who owns 5 cows afford this arsenal? This raises the question that Nigerian government refuses to answer. Who is funding these weapons? Who is supplying the logistics like transport, communication, food chains, intel? Why has no major financier been arrested and tried publicly? And make no mistake, this is not random. This is coordinated. In summary, when 200 people were murdered in one night and the nation does not tremble, something has died beyond the victims. The Yelwata massacre is a symptom of deeper rot. A nation unwilling to protect its own citizens or even acknowledge their pain when they are gone. It reminds us that Nigeria, being poor, rural, and Christian in the Middle Belt, makes you expendable. And until this changes, we will keep counting the dead in mass graves. But even if the government refuses to remember, history will. And we must never forget. Till next time, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this video.